Revised duels are moving down again. What does that mean for the market? Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. Hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. Today I want to have a conversation about revised dual lands and what's going on in the market a little bit, and just have a little open dialogue about it. Again, this is not financial advice. If you have been following the channel, you know I love talking about the market in trading card games, and I haven't done that for a while. I haven't picked out a specific topic like this. We've been focused on the game store side of things as I'm expanding the business and that kind of thing. But as we voyage towards 10,000 subs, it's time to expand the horizons a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about revised dual lands and where they currently are in the market. Now, before I get into this, let me just say this. I don't have like a huge, extensive Magic the Gathering collection. I think I own about 12 to 15 revised dual lands. I'm not some super whale in that industry or in that world. I just love them. I have them in some of my commander decks. I think I have about a set of the 10 of them or whatever it is outside of commander decks, just as a collection as well. But I do look at revised dual lands as an overall kind of flow with the market. I think revised dual lands tell you and give you a snapshot of the overall Magic the Gathering market better than any other individual card or any other individual assumption of cards. And it tells you kind of what people are thinking of, and then you can take that information and apply it in light to the other things. So right now, revised dual lands, I'm gonna pop up some graphs, they're on a downward from a wave. And if you look back a couple months ago, a year ago, you can see they came down and then they went back up, and then they come down and they go back up. And this is how these things ebb and flow. This is a market moves up and down and all around. And you can start trying to time the market a little bit. You're never gonna get it perfect. You're never gonna get it accurate. You're never gonna always buy the bottom and sell the top. That's never gonna happen. But if you're in a place where you are trying to accumulate these things, you can start saying to yourself, okay, this seems to be a good time, looking at the historical data, to start picking up cards. And I think that on the surface, that is where revised dual lands are right now. If I were amply investing in Magic the Gathering, if I was excited about Magic the Gathering, and if I was looking to buy and accumulate cards, I would right now, at this point in time, start looking for deals, start accumulating those cards. I would call this right now an accumulation period in the revised dual economy. And you may be able to apply that to other cards and other sectors of the card industry, but right now I want to focus in on those revised duals. We are down about 20%, about 15 to 20% from the the most recent highs, which suggests that we can start to see and expect another flow into future highs. They're going to kind of gradually go up as the products get older. That's what happens. Now, I want to bring in the wrench. I want to throw a wrench in that plan for a second, and then we're going to evaluate that wrench and what's going on. Revised duels have always been that kind of pinnacle experience to evaluate the market, just kind of what I said. But recently, over the last 6 months, with the way that Wizards of the Coast is doing things, and with the Magic 30 stuff going on, where they are reprinting all these cards in non-legal proxy versions and that kind of thing, I believe that revised duels have an increased risk as a result of those things. If you take a look at the reserve list, if you take a look at the massive amount of cards that people kind of focus in and invest in, and Power 9 and revised duels or beta or unlimited or whatever you want to talk about, I think revised duels fit the category best. That is, cards that people put into commander decks, cards that people don't necessarily proxy and that kind of thing. I would venture to say that revised duels are the most included reserve list card in commander, which is not like a hot take. I think that's a pretty easy to understand thing. Duels are great cards for commander, and then obviously there's 10 of them or whatever it is, so it really adds to this idea that these are cards that are inside decks, and if they do reprint reserve list cards, I believe that revised dual lands will have the biggest negative downturn as a result of reserve list reprints. In other words, I don't think something like a time walk, an unlimited time walk, is really going to see much decrease in value if they reprint the reserve list. the gameplay side of Magic the Gathering is not what is driving the price of a unlimited time walk. Whereas Revised Dual Lands, it is really gameplay that is in turn driving the price of this. It's both collectible and the gameplay side that's causing a Revised Dual Land to go up in value or to have this significant value. So if they do reprint, I do think Revised Dual Lands are the riskiest of the assets, probably one of the riskiest of the assets on the market. So the question is, in my mind, as this ebbs and flows, as we look at the historical data of Revised Dual Lands and we see this kind of C where things are going up and down and then they go back up higher and they come back down a little bit, they go back up higher. Is this Magic 30 a wrench? Is this gonna break the system and the trust that people have in this hobby and in this collectability of things? Now, I'm not like advocating for either side. I'm not gonna pick a fence. I know it's a hot button thing. Particularly, I win. I own 15 Revised Dual Lands. So I win if they don't reprint Revised Duels. If they do reprint Revised Duels in the next Magic the Gathering set, well, I'm a retailer. I sell cards. That's what I do. I own a local game store. So if they do put those in, I'm gonna be doing good. I'm gonna be able to sell people product that people are gonna want. So it doesn't really matter to me from an individual standpoint whether or not they reprint these cards in another set or that kind of thing. Personally, I kind of like the reserve list. I kind of like the kind of speculative assets and the things to do with Magic the Gathering. That's something that I kind of enjoy. So from a personal standpoint of collecting, I like having things that won't be reprinted in that kind of world. But from a financial standpoint, I don't think it really matters to me. But when I look at this graph, when I look at this, I start saying, okay, what are the things that I want to start accumulating? I start taking a look at my collection and saying, all right, yeah, maybe I'm not gonna go super heavy. Maybe I'm not gonna try to increase my 15 to 35 or 40 Revised Dual Lands, but maybe I'll take my 15 and take a look at my commander decks and look to see what am I missing to have a complete set, 2 complete sets of Revised Dual Lands. Then I would pick up those 5 or whatever it is. Maybe eventually I set a goal that says I'm gonna have a play set of Revised Dual Lands, or I look at a legacy deck and I wanna pick up something like that. But when I see this downtick, I start saying maybe it's time to start accumulating and acquiring. And I really think if you believe in the longevity of the reserve list, if you don't think that Mark Rosewater and all of them are gonna reprint these cards in sets and they're gonna be playable versions of the card, if you don't think that that's gonna happen, I do think we are entering into an accumulation period. Again, this is not financial advice, but if you believe that the reserve list cards are safe from reprints, I would start accumulating. That's what I would start doing. Now, if you are on the fence of that, I still would not be dumping. I still would not be selling. I would maybe start inventorying, maybe start taking calculation of what value you have in it. I don't think that Revised Dual Lands go to 0 if they reprint. You can't recreate the paper, the feel, the kind of washed out thing. These will still have a significant value over other Dual Lands. And you can make some arguments of, if they reprint them and more people can put them in decks, they become a more acceptable thing to put into your decks and into the world. So then the older ones, more people want them because they want flashier versions or whatever. You could look at that and consider that. I would not start dumping these if I were, but I would maybe start evaluating, do I have too many in my collection? Am I overcommitted in the Revised Dual Land section? Am I overcommitted in any particular sector? Because if you take a look at the Magic the Gathering market, and if you look at Revised Dual Lands as the pinnacle evaluation of that market, we are in another kind of looking like it's gonna start trending upwards. If you look at the little wave, it's starting to move the other way. And in the map, if you take a 10-year view or a 5-year view, it's starting to look encouraging to start accumulating if you believe in that world. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I know I didn't really give you any hard evidence or hard takes here, but if you believe in the reserve list, I think it's accumulation period. If you don't believe in the reserve list, I think this is an interesting time where people may start accumulating that you could start selling some stuff that you want to get out of. So anyway, hopefully that gave you something. Remember to be kind to the people around you. If you want to help us out, get to 10,000 subs, we're going to be opening up this Mirrodin booster box, which I'm super excited for. So remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.